Okay, so Daryn, so we sit here in 2020, but I just want to take you back a little bit to when you first got involved with the club. How did it first come about, you joining Derbyshire?
Well, it first came about back in 2016. I came on trial with the second 11 back then. A chap by the name of AJ Harris was coaching the second 11, and I was overseas professional at Ramsbottom, and we had just managed to get ancestral visas through my wife's grandparents, which I guess made me eligible, if you can put it that way. Managed to get a trial with the second 11. At that point, Tom Poynton had broken his ankle. Harvey had moved up into the first team. There was no one to keep in the second team. And Wayne Madsen and I had been friends for many years. We went to school together, played back in Durban together, and obviously being good mates, we'd kept in contact. So he got hold of me and organised this trial in the second 11. I played 2 games. I had a 50 not out, and then the second game at Glamorgan managed to get a double 100, which I guess as trial matches go, probably as good as it gets. And the club was going through a massive transition at that point. John Sadler, I think, had just left the club. There was no director of cricket, so I guess after scoring a double 100 on trial, you kind of expect there's going to be an email or your phone's going to ring or something. And for 4 or 5 months there was absolutely nothing, and you think, well, okay, I guess that door's closed and the opportunity's passed. And then on the 8th of March, I remember it really clearly, the email coming through, and there was an offer from Derbyshire. Kim Barnett had just come into the club and taken over as the head of cricket, and he got hold of me and made me an offer, and I guess, as they say, the rest is history.
When you look at your time with Derbyshire then, I suppose even though you may have expected an offer, you might not have expected that you'd maybe be here so long and then end it at finals day as well.
Yeah, I think many mixed emotions when I look back at it. I think firstly the opportunity to play county cricket was, I think every professional cricketer's dream to challenge themselves. I think it's such a amazingly different environment. I think it really challenges all aspects of your game, and certainly I arrived over here a little bit naive. I think having played a lot of club cricket, and you think that kind of sets you up for English conditions in county cricket, and boy was I wrong. I think having played for 15 years back in Durban, you kind of think you're an established first-class cricketer, but I mean, certainly my batting technique was tested to no end here, in English conditions. So, it caught me a little bit off guard, but what I wasn't expecting was the opportunity to keep wicket again. When the club signed me, they had Gary Wilson and Harvey on the books, so they did say to me, look, we're looking at you as a batsman. We know that you can keep, but that would, very much be our third sort of in-line keeper, which I absolutely understood. I didn't want to stand on anyone's toes, coming here and make enemies from the get-go. As it turned out, I ended up, over the 3 seasons, spending the majority of my time behind the stumps, which was fantastic for me, just to kind of reignite my passion for keeping. I'd lost that a little bit in my last few years at the Dolphins, not being able to keep wicket and burning leg spin a lot of the time. So to be able to get back behind the stumps, and I think it surprised a lot of people over here. I don't think they realised that I was actually an out-and-out keeper, and that the standard of my glove work was quite where it was. So it was quite nice to receive the plaudits too and boost the ego a little bit. But most importantly, I think the value that it added to the team, particularly in the shorter format of the game, being able to stand up to a lot of the bowlers was fantastic.
And you were Derbyshire's first choice keeper throughout the T20 last year, running all the way to finals day. What was that like as a campaign? It seemed like the atmosphere within the squad was always really good.
Yeah, I think 2020 is always an exciting time of the season. I think everyone gets to kind of let their hair down a little bit, let their guard down, go out there and express themselves. So, it was really at the back end of the season this year, so I think it had been a long season, and I think everyone was just excited when it came around. From a personal point of view, I actually wasn't expecting to be playing. I'd spoken to Hout and to Corky to try and get an idea in terms of my own preparation, whether I was going to be involved or not, and initially both of them had said to me, no, Harvey's going to start, which is fair enough. I think he's the future of the club, and he needs to start gaining white ball experience. So I kind of parked that one and put it to bed. And a couple of days before the first game against Yorkshire at Chesterfield, I got the old tap on the shoulder, and I got told, I think we might need you. Conditions and the makeup of our team meant that the keeper would be spending a lot of time up at the stumps, and I think both coaches felt like I'd be the right man for the job. So of course I was excited, although it did catch me a little bit off guard. I had to make a few changes to the diary over the next few weeks, but as we sit here now and we look back at it, now that I've closed that chapter and finished my career as a player, the opportunity to go out like that, finishing off behind the stumps in a 2020 campaign that ended, as you mentioned, in finals day at Edgbaston was a great way to sign off.
And when you look back as well at your time with Derbyshire, one thing that always stands out to me with you is how well liked you are by the supporters. I mean, how would you sum up that relationship that you have with them?
I think it's a bit like a marriage. What you put in is what you get out. The more you water the grass, the more the grass sort of grows. And not too dissimilar to the media, actually. I think a lot of players go through their careers putting up a bit of a front and not offering too much to the public, to the fans, and to the media. And as a result, you don't get much back from them. But I think understanding the importance of the role that they play, within the club, within any professional cricketer's career, it's important to make sure that relationship's good. So I think it's generally my personality, trying to just be a bit of a nice guy, I guess, and make an effort with everyone. I think the relationship that I've built over the last 3 years with the spectators and the members has been superb, and really grateful for all the support that they've shown me throughout my time here.
And when you look at Derbyshire as a squad where, especially last season, people maybe didn't expect them to do as well as they did in the Vitality Blast, how much does the support of the members and the regulars, how much does that propel you on when you're out there?
Yeah, massively. I mean, without a doubt, whether it's good support, whether it's bad support, whether it's positive publicity or negative, players are aware of that. I think these days with social media, you can't hide from it. Every player's on social media, and whatever's being said, you're aware of. And I think some people hide behind the keyboard and have their negative things to say without actually realising the impact that it has on the players. And in the same sense, the positive feedback and support from members, from fans is massively uplifting. And I guess as players we also have to realise that when you do perform below par, you have to accept the good with the bad and take it on the chin. But certainly when things are going well and the support's there, it does help us get to that next level. And when things are below par, that support just helps us push through those difficult times, which naturally every club goes through.
And we've touched on it a little bit already, but you have moved into a new role now. You're the head of talent pathway. We've heard a little bit this winter already about the emphasis that's going to be placed on bringing through players now, but just sum up what you think it will mean to the Derbyshire supporters and the club itself to have more local homegrown players coming through now.
Well, I think it sounds a bit ironic, me as a South African who's been a Colpack player for the last 3 years, sitting here talking about bringing through local players. But I think even in my time here, as someone who might have been competing for a place with Harvey, parking that sort of issue aside, I would always be saying to coaches, he is the future, he is homegrown. It's only right that we really push him as much as we can. And now that I've stepped out the game, my role really as a coach and the head of pathway is to do exactly the same now, with our local homegrown players. And I think the nature and the makeup of domestic cricket is certainly changing. Colpack players are now going to be a thing of the past. As a small club like ours, we can't necessarily throw a lot of money at big overseas players. So the big focus then becomes on our homegrown talent and bringing through what we've got within our ranks and making sure that our boys, as they reach the end of their time within our pathway, are graduating, they're ready to sustain a place and make big contributions in second 11 cricket. I've only been in the role now for two and a bit months, but some of the talent we've got there is absolutely, it's mind-blowing. And if we can just tweak a few things there and get them thinking like professionals by the time they leave our academy, I think we'll be in a good place. And then obviously further down the line, looking long term, the amount of love and passion for the game that our under 12s and 13s show, it's heartwarming. You come out of the game as a professional and everything is serious and you're looking at performance, whereas you look at it at 12 and 13-year-olds and all they want to do is have fun. And really that fun and enjoyment and love of the game it's the grounding and the basis that sets you up to sort of forge a career in the game and want to make a laugh out of cricket. And I think if we're doing the right things down at that level and creating that enjoyment factor, we're then setting guys up as they get older and they move through our ranks to really start turning that love and enjoyment into a focus of actually being able to make a living. We all know how much opportunity there is in the game now and money there is, to really set themselves up for life. So, I think we're heading in the right direction, but it's just about really nurturing that talent, doing the right things with it and get it moving in the right direction.
Just on that as well, I suppose one big plus that the academy has is not just yourself working with the players, but also Dave Houghton, Steve Kirby and first team coaches. I mean, does that maybe create more of a almost one club feel around the academy and the first team? I
think that's exactly what we've looked to do this year. I think our pathway's always been run by the DCB, and by all means, I mean they did a really good job doing that. But now being taken over and run by the county club, it does mean that we're trying to run it more, in line with how we would run a very professional setup. The players are now exposed to all our professional coaches. I mean, some of our pathway players spend nearly as much time with our professional coaches as what our professional players do. So, that exposure to some high-class coaching, the experience and knowledge that Mel Loy, Steve Kirby and Dave Houghton have is invaluable to some of our players. And obviously me and you in the role, bringing some fresh ideas and I guess a wealth of experience coming out of the first class game for so many years. I'm really just trying to impact the mindset of players, the way they think, try to get them thinking professionally, take ownership of their own games. I think this era of spoon-fed cricketers is something that needs to become a thing of the past. I think the best players who make it early in their lives are the ones who really take ownership of their own games and are not waiting for coaches to tell them what to do. So, from my side, certainly trying to implement a different kind of mindset within our players, and then, the professional coaches in Curbs and Mel and Hart have got an unbelievable technical knowledge of the game that they're trying to pass on to the players. So I think we're covering all bases and certainly moving in the right direction. The feedback that we've got from our ECB representatives who cover our area, if they're comparing our pathway to the past few years, I think where we're heading at the moment is chalk and cheese from where we were previously. So the signs are good and we're moving in the right direction, but obviously that doesn't guarantee performances or results or necessarily mean that our players are going to graduate to become professionals. There's still a lot of hard work, but we can't sit back and just rest on our laurels and expect it all to happen just because we've got the right sort of framework in place.
Finally, if you can, sum up what you think this club means to the local community and the supporters.
Yeah, I think it's massive. I mean, you can see it, the passion, the die-hard fans that are here, they travel around the country all year, well, certainly all cricket season, the sacrifices that they make, financial sacrifices to follow us around, it's huge, and it doesn't go unnoticed. The players, they're aware of it, and they are so grateful. And finals day was fantastic to see that corner of Edgbaston with all our fans cheering us on, and it was brilliant. Even though we lost, when we were walking back to the change room, they were on their feet and they were cheering us off, and almost appreciating the fact that it had been a really good campaign. And for us as players, it's absolutely huge, and within the community, it's massive. And as we sit here now in the beginning of March and it's still cold and grey outside, it's stuff like this that excites you, for the start of the summer, knowing that we're going to see the usual suspects sitting around the boundary, in a month's time in plenty layers, because it's going to be freezing. And when we're sitting down in Cardiff and in different corners of the country, they're going to be there with us all the way, and it's uplifting for all the players without a doubt.
Daryn, thank you.
Absolute pleasure.